Hi there, it's Lola here from Boss Ass Living, and today's video is going to be all about learning. I want to share with you a model that you may actually be very familiar with. It's a model that's been around since the late 60s, early 70s, and it's referred to in many different ways, but one of the things it's called is the 4 stages of competence. Now, it's a really classic model, and I think even if you know about this model, I would really encourage you to keep a beginner's mind, because it just feels it's such a powerful little model in terms of the clarity it gives. And the reason I'm speaking about it today is because it niggles at me all the time at the back of my mind, in the kind of fast-paced, impatient, everything now, immediate culture. I feel like we try and skip these steps. And so it just feels like something I want to highlight today and speak to. So there are 4 stages in the 4 stages of competence, strangely enough. And the first stage is unconscious incompetence. Now, this stage is all about you being unconscious of what you are incompetent of, meaning you don't know what you don't know. You know, you have a worldview and there's something that you maybe are about to learn that sits outside your current mental understanding of the world. So you can't see it. It's a blind spot. Okay. So a really common example that works really well is the analogy of, learning to drive. So this is maybe you're not at the legal age to drive. You're not even thinking about driving. You know, it's not in your world right now. So then you turn 17 in the UK. I don't know where, doesn't matter what it is anywhere else, but 17 in the UK, and you might now start your driving lessons. The next stage is called conscious incompetence. I have to pause because I get the words confused. So conscious incompetence. This is now where you are starting to become aware of what you don't know. It's like standing at the bottom of a massive mountain. Now you want to drive, you get in the driving seat, and then you're like, oh my God, what are all these buttons, what are all these levers? Where do I put my feet? I've got to look at the mirrors. There's so much going on. It's really overwhelming. Personally, it's my worst part of the stage. I won't even lie. I hate this, especially the beginning part of this stage where I'm just like, oh, I just want to know already, and I don't. And all I can see right now is how shit I am and all the things I don't know. So the next stage after this is when you become consciously competent. So after a while, after some practice, you start to, figure out what the gears do, and you figure out what the brake is and what the accelerator is, the mirrors, what the different levers do, but you have to think about it. Sometimes you stall the car, sometimes you get that awful sound when you forget to put the clutch down, when you change gears. Again, it's all part of the learning process. But now you are starting to figure out what things do. It's starting to seep into your mind. You're becoming consciously competent. And then the final stage is unconscious competence. And this is where you've practiced for the required amount of time, and now you can just do the thing, in this case, drive the car, without thinking about it all the time. You just jump in your car and go. Sometimes you can be so unconscious when you're driving that you end up going in the wrong direction, like out of habit, I know that happens to me quite a lot. But you now are unconsciously competent. You don't need to overthink it. You know what things do. You're feeling confident. And the reason why I wanted to speak about this and just maybe refresh the memories of people who know about this model already, and also introduce it to people that don't know about it, is because what I find is oftentimes people just want to get to unconscious competence. And there's a process. You can get there, of course you can get there, but there is a process to get in there. And oftentimes people, it feels like they want to just skip the steps. So it's really good to have this model at the back of your mind and know where you are around whatever it is you're trying to learn, and what you maybe can expect, and also what your relationship is with each of those steps. So like I said, my least favourite is conscious incompetence, where I'm just overwhelmed by all the things I don't know. And in that place, I have a lot of negative self-talk. I have a lot of beating myself up. And that's kind of just how it is for me. You know, I get over it. I catch myself eventually. It gets sorted out. But, and I know that it's all part of the process. Like, I'm not maybe the most graceful learner at times, depending on what I'm learning. So I just accept that I'm going to throw tantrums and get really angry and frustrated. And that's just part of my process. And eventually it will calm down as I start to slowly understand what's going on, and move gently into becoming consciously competent. That will pass. So I think there's something around checking out your relationship to each one of those. You know, how are you with things you when you don't know what you don't know? A lot of people are very dismissive. You know, a lot of people are like, well, it can't possibly be true because I don't know it. They don't say because I don't know it, but that's what I hear. Like, well, that's not real. That's not true. But it could be just that you're unconscious of your incompetence in that area. So it's maybe good to keep a bit of an open mind and recognize that there are things that happen outside of your mental awareness, which is a little arrogant, let's be real. It's a bit arrogant to think that way. You know, the world's a lot more going on in this world than what we mentally understand. And then what's your relationship to when you become conscious of what you're incompetent about? You know, maybe you're a little bit more graceful about it. Maybe that's really exciting for you. Maybe it's a big adventure. And then what about conscious competence? You know, are you somebody who is quite cautious and quite tentative and likes to just take your time and maybe just enjoys that entire process? Or are you somebody who kind of gets a bit ahead of yourself and thinks, right, got this now, and rushes off? Thinking that you are in unconscious competence when you're not yet. And then how are you with unconscious competence? You know, some people, once they've been through this entire process, want to go back and help others do the same. And then some people kind of want to keep the information to themselves and feel superior. So again, this is just about checking out what your relationship is to each one. Well, it's about knowing the steps to start off with, then checking out your relationship to each one, and seeing if maybe you want to do things, you might want to do things a different way, or you might not. But I just think there's something very powerful about just being aware of this process and stop rushing ahead. Like, learning takes time. You're doing great. That's all from me for today. If you want to join my mailing list, go ahead and do so. I'll put some information underneath this video. You'll get a free ebook, my free Get Your Queen On ebook when you do so. And I look forward to having you in my circle.